up here. There she is. Hi,
Hello.
Cherie.
Hi, Angela. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Uh, can you hear me well?
I can, and you can hear me?
Okay, good. Yes,
Excellent.
everything's good. Thank you.
So,
I'm,
Cherie, you're in your studio.
yeah, I'm here at, we haven't actually got a name yet, but we're going to call it Sunrise Studios. I think it's a collective. It used to be part of the Akin group, but now we're just, I think there's about 10 artist spaces in here, but right now it's pretty quiet.
Oh.
It's in an industrial area in Toronto.
So when you say right now it's pretty quiet, is that just because of the way people are practicing and sharing studio space during COVID, or is that just today?
No, I think partly just the summer. People have been away and are coming back, and just haven't seen as many people here yet. We also have a few empty spots, so that might be of interest to some people. Yeah.
Right.
So, and over the summer though, I actually worked at my cottage in my garage, and I found that quite nice because I had a view of the woods out the garage door, and I just got in a good pattern there of working a little bit every day.
Oh, great.
Whereas here I have to travel from home, and I don't always come.
Right. So
Yeah.
your practice is that where you get a lot of your inspiration then from nature? I know it's quite abstract and very graphic and has a lot of energy. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your art practice, like where you get your inspiration from, and then maybe showcase a little bit about how you start.
Okay, thanks. I actually find talking about my art really difficult because with abstract art, a lot of it just comes from your internal self. It's from whatever you observe, from your feelings, from what you've seen, from colors. So sometimes you don't really know where it came from, but you're right. I do spend a lot of time in nature, and while I'm at the cottage, I do a lot of walking and taking photos. And I do have one sample here where I used photos of just from my garden and the colors in there to just start a palette from that. Other times I think it's really a feeling that just somehow translates from when you get in the studio and you're in front of the easel, and if you get sort of comfortable enough in your flow that your feelings somehow come onto the canvas. I was saying that I had an outdoor show as part of the ArtWalk on the weekend, and one of the people who came by asked me about one of my paintings called Wild Horses, and he said that he immediately saw horses when he looked at it, and yet it's very abstract, but I painted it to the music Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones. So how he saw horses, I don't know. And that's sort of one of my teachers says that's when the magic happens. It really is a bit of magic, so it's hard to describe. Yeah.
Well, the music probably evoked the feeling of horses, and then that was evoked in your work, right? So
but how it comes through your body, and that's how my work does have movement in it. And I always like to stand up when I'm painting. I like to use my whole arm, and somehow that translates onto the paper or the canvas, but I don't really know exactly how. It's a kinetic thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think I can kind of see that in your work. I was going to ask you, like, there's a lot of really big, broad strokes, and you've got some really large pieces. So I was wondering how you actually do that. Do you use your whole arm to create that mark making and then translate that basically energy, really, that I think I see in your work and feel in your work?
And I also, I can take us around the studio later, but you asked about tools. I don't really like brushes that much, and I don't use this one so much, but I do like to use, this is dollar store material.
Right.
And then one of my other teachers that tells us to use sticks to draw with, and so it's a lot of, the other way I describe my painting is intuitive. So again, it's just kind of going with your feelings and your mood, and whatever comes out, trusting that it's okay. I study with an artist, Suzanne Metz, and some of my starts that you'll see here come from some of the ideas and the practices she gives us to get started. I find it pretty hard to get started. But if you look around here, there's a lot of what you might say is just crap, but it's what helps to keep me going and get me started. Do you want to take a look around?
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
Should I do that?
Show us a little bit about your process and show your studio space. I think it's always exciting for people to see that. And just while Cherie's just flipping the camera around there, Cherie's work is actually in the preview at the Leslie Grove Gallery, so you can actually see one of her pieces live. I know that she mentioned that she was just in a pop-up preview on the Saturday when we had opened up the show, so that was a good opportunity. I don't know, Cherie, if you're still showcasing any work outdoors outside of your home or your studio.
I don't have a, yeah.
But Leslie Grove Gallery is a good place to take a look at one of her pieces. It's beautiful.
I was going to tell you, this is where I started, or a lot of people probably did, looking at nature and trying to make it look like it looked. And I still kind of like it, but it's not, but somehow I've gone from there to there.
Right.
So that is a start that I did last week. And these are also little starts. So we start with mark making using a variety of drawing tools. So just pencils and charcoal and ink, and I like oil pastels right now. So those are where I start, and then hopefully I end up, well, I like this one. Guess I have to get far away. So this is one that's in the show, but what happens, well, they're about 40 by 40, this one is. Right. And then I guess I can't really show you this one. This is one that's on the wall that looks totally chaotic right now. So that's sort of the starting. It's still a start.
Right.
But there are sections of it that I think I might turn into paintings because I really like the section there.
Right.
And probably what happens next is usually you cover up what's underneath. So these are also some of my beginnings. Just, I guess what I try and do is usually just use a couple of colors to begin with. Oh, I just want to mention, so this one here was just sort of my color starter.
Right.
And I like the way the purple and the greens work together, and then I like the way the lines were carved, and anyway, so I used that in this bigger piece, and those colors came from a picture in my garden of flowers. So that's, and then I often use a color wheel on the side just to figure out, okay, which colors are going to work best together, because I forget. I haven't been an artist that long, so my I forget.
Well, it's really interesting. Thanks for showing us that.
I'm taking you to one other piece, which is just to show a process. Sorry, wrong way. So this was a little encaustic piece I did years ago, and it was my first time trying encaustic, and it was my first dribbling of wax on a piece of paper, but I kind of liked it. And this year I had a commission to do for someone, and she liked that painting, so I turned it into a bigger painting.
Wow.
So sometimes that's the way you go from, and sometimes a section of a painting becomes a bigger painting. So
I find that really interesting, how it's sort of like an intuitive process where you've reflected on colors that you might have seen in a space, and then you figure out your color palette, and then that draws into a bigger piece. Maybe you do a small sketch pieces, and then it comes into bigger pieces. I was interested to know a little bit. You showed that one big piece. You said, well, this piece you find quite successful. This one area you're really happy with, and that might turn into pizza piece. Then do you start to cover up areas, or are you then like taking that and creating a new piece again? Like, are you?
Well, I was thinking of using sections of this painting to turn into other paintings.
Right. Okay.
Because this is a large piece of canvas on the wall. It's about 6 feet long at least.
Right.
But then, to calm it down, I will cover up parts. But right now I still kind of like the chaos, so I haven't figured out what parts I want to cover up yet.
Yeah, so I guess it's playing with that energy, right? Like, what do you like? What do you like about it? Like, where is it leading you specifically in that piece, and then making sure that it's still, like you say, you're kind of looking at your color palette and that color wheel to make sure that they actually works together?
Yeah, so I think I've been working with a triad of green and purple and the orange, but then there's a lot of other things in here. Normally I don't. These colors also came more out of a tube, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I would mix my colors, so they're much more. They're more original. They're deeper.
Right.
They have more. Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing I use. I'm kind of a messy painter. Probably you can tell. Here's my desk. It's got stuff everywhere, and I use.
Go ahead.
Maybe that was too fast, but
No, I could see a little bit. Yeah.
I use parchment paper as where I mix my paints, and I usually just mix. I try to stick with two colors, and black and white. Otherwise, I get. This is an anomaly to that. Otherwise, it's too much for me to deal with, I find. And from two colors, you can make unlimited shades and colors. And it just, if you do it all in one family, that the painting somehow hangs together. So just on a different kind of example, totally different, and one that still I'm not really happy with, but it's muted. And it's got many layers underneath that I didn't think were successful, but sometimes once you go over them, you wish you hadn't. So
yeah.
that's part of how it works until you feel it's good, or you post it on Instagram and somebody responds, says, "Oh, I kind of like that."
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think for a lot of artists, that's like an exciting process, right? And I think it's always like learning where do you stop and where do you continue is like how we grow, right? In our practice, like I'm finding the same thing with my work, right? Like sometimes I blow it out or I think, oh, I've gone too far, but then it turns into something else pretty magical. So I think that there's a lot of learning that happens, and then you can sometimes be really pleasantly surprised, right? There's always a way to rework work, I think. I've noticed that on the site where you can actually purchase your work that you had some muted palettes and some like black and whites and some very strong, very energetic pieces. So I think that there's something there for everybody to take a look at. And I hope that you do well in the show, and we're excited to see some of these new pieces come to life.
Okay, thank you. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you, and thanks for sharing a little bit about your work and getting a little peek at your studio. We really enjoyed it. I hope that you have some time to like post some of those pieces as you progress. We'll be excited.
I usually do. Okay,
yeah,
thank
excellent.
you. Good
All right,
idea.
thanks, Cherie. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to
bye,
end
Angela.
this chat now. Thanks. Bye-bye.